Welcome to Community Conversations with Louisville Pride, part of our Digital Pride initiative. Community Conversations happen Tuesday and Thursdays here on Facebook, and you can see them later on at louisvillepride.com, community-conversations. They're also available as podcasts on Anchor FM or iTunes or Spotify. We want to thank our sponsors for making Digital Pride possible, Republic Bank, Norton Healthcare, and we get additional support from Connolly Law Offices, Caperton Realty, and Heine Brothers Coffee. Our topic today is how to vote in the Kentucky primary coming up in June. And my guest is Nori Giabaldi from the Board of Elections. Thank you for joining me today.
Mike, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Nori has been a spokesperson for Jefferson County Board of Elections and the Director of Communications and Media and Public Relations for the Jefferson County Clerk's Office since 2007. So in your time, have you ever had to delay an election before?
There has never been a delayed election, and there has never been an election that is taking place quite like this one.
So first off, what's the new date for the primary?
The primary will be June 23rd. The original date was May 19th. And as a matter of fact, the ballots that the folks will be using on June 23rd, or that will be receiving by mail, will actually be with the original date of May 19th.
So even though it's going to show the wrong date, you can still
it'll still be good, and the reason for that is it would cost Jefferson County thousands of dollars to reprint all those, so it made sense that they would go forward, and I think that's what the other counties in the state as well.
So is there any chance that the date could be changed again?
I would say not. I think that we're ready to go. I think we've all got a plan in place throughout the state of Kentucky. And here in Jefferson County, we're gearing up to begin this whole process for the election day being June 23rd.
So if somebody wants to vote absentee, what's that process look like?
Well, right now they can very easily go to the Jefferson County Clerk's website, hit on voter information. The opening page will instruct them to an application. It's a two-part process until the state goes into effect with their statewide canvass. But right now, you would actually request an application. That application comes to you within a couple days. You fill it out, sign your signature, and once it's received back at the election center, they will mail you a ballot. As a matter of fact, I just did this last week, and yesterday I sent my application back, so I'm hoping to get the ballot this week.
And then once you get your ballot, you fill that out and send it in. And when is it due by?
It's got to be, first of all, they'll accept it at any point. There's going to be an end mailing date. There will also be on election day a couple drop-off boxes in the city. So we have a couple options as we get a little bit closer. But for the folks that don't want to wait for the statewide postcard that's going to be mailed to every voter in the state, with a portal, they can do it this way right now.
Okay. So what's that portal going to be like? When is that going out?
The postcard comes out May 22nd, and it will go to every voter in the Commonwealth of Kentucky that's registered. And of course, you here in Jefferson County, if you were to go to that portal and fill out whatever is necessary there, then they're going to kick it to Jefferson County to send you a ballot. So you would skip the application process, which right now we're doing.
Okay, so it should be a little bit easier, but if you want to get a head start, you can go ahead and do the application
Right,
now.
That would be considered a ballot absentee.
Now, if I send in my ballot and I decide, you know what, I changed who I wanted to vote for, I don't get to change my ballot, do I?
You absolutely do not.
Okay.
You voted.
Now, if my dog eats my ballot before I send it in, can I get a replacement?
Kind of like one of those homework excuses.
Right, exactly.
I would say that's probably going to be a slight problem.
Okay.
One of the things that you will receive with your ballot is you're going to receive a couple envelopes and instructions. And those on that inner envelope, you're going to sign your signature on the outside across like a seal. And you're going to do the same thing on the outer envelope. And we will actually compare that signature to your registration card to know that you were the one that actually, we know that you requested, we sent it to your home, but you're the one that actually has filled out that ballot and you're sending it back to us. And it's usually done bipartisan. Of course, this election's definitely a Republican Democrat. It's a closed primary. Kentucky has closed primaries. The only difference is if you're in the 22nd district, and we have somebody where an independent can step in and vote for it.
Okay, so if you're an independent, you might be getting a ballot in some of those districts.
Only in the 22nd.
So once you've sent your ballot back in, is there any confirmation for that, or is there any way to check it's been received?
Well, I know that they keep records, of course, once they're checked in, that ballot's been received back, that the signature is verified both by a Republican and a Democrat, and that ballot is ready to be counted. When you consider that we have over 600,000 registered voters here in Jefferson County, that'd be for a lot of people to check. I think that you can pretty much trust the U.S. mail that's going to get there on time, and especially if it's already maybe once or two different ways.
And then if somebody still wants to vote in person, they don't trust the mail system, or they're not worried about it or whatever, are there still going to be polling locations open on June 23rd?
Now, the whole point of this was, of course, for distance for both the election officers. Normally, on a normal election, we train 2,400 people and that are spread throughout the city at over 269 locations, representing almost 600 precincts. That we will not be doing. There will be one location that will be set for that day. And of course, it's going to be a little bit more unique because of the distance. There'll be drop-off boxes in two parts of the city on that day as well. So if somebody wants to take their ballot and actually drop it off physically, they can do that. But with the one voting location, you got to remember, we have over 2,000 different ballots here in Jefferson County. It's going to be a very large place. You're going to come in, you're going to go to the roster. That roster will determine whether or not you've actually secured a ballot. And if you have, they're going to turn you away. And if you haven't, you're going to sign that roster, the electronic roster. They will go get your ballot. You're going to go to an area and vote. After you voted and scanned, then they're going to have people have to disinfect or wipe all that down. So it makes it a double duty. And to come in and vote, probably you're going to have on I would definitely say some gloves and maybe a mask.
So the recommendation is definitely that everybody should be doing the absentee ballot.
I do like the way you think. Yes, that would be the best way. That's the safest way for not only the voters of Jefferson County, but for the folks that have to work with the ballots as well as receive people on that day. Now, one of the things that we do have set up at the Jefferson County Board of Elections is that if you have special needs, we can accommodate that in an in-person capacity by appointment. And so you would call the election center to do just that, because we do want to make sure that everybody is accommodated.
And can people do that now or earlier than election day?
I believe they're setting that up right now, so that if you have some special needs and you want to use the touchscreen that produces a paper ballot, you can call the election center and they will work that out for you or let you know when that date begins, which they call in-person voting, but it will be by appointment.
And will that be at the Edison Center down there at 7th and Ormsby, or is the site going to be somewhere different?
It will be at the Edison Center at Ormsby.
So everybody's going to be voting by absentee ballot, but there'll be one location that's open on election day. So if I never get my ballot or I forget to send it in.
If you choose that, if you think, well, I'm not going to vote this election, and you change your mind, that would be your one alternative to be able to go in and cast a vote for that day.
So do you anticipate any changes happening like this for the November election?
Now, I know that they've put some laws for the November election in place, some new things, but in a general election, generally when an election's ran, there are various exact reasons that you can vote in person, absentee, or by ballot. I mean, a woman in her third trimester, you're going to be out of the state, you're out of the country, you're a student out of state. There's all these reasons. You check that off. The one that you have now is COVID ID 19. That's why you're being able to do this ballot. I don't see this happening for the general election this fall. I think it's a one-time only for this election, so that the folks of Kentucky would be safe, as well as the people who help run the elections.
And then, so let's talk about absentee ballots and absentee voting. You know, how do you keep it secure? How do you make sure that somebody's not committing fraud or they're not getting lost? You know, what's the process there?
I would say that it's relatively safe in so many ways because they're verifying your signature, and everything that is done, including the staff at the election center, is bipartisan. If you're a manager over, we'll say, getting election officers, you're a Democrat and you're a Republican. There's a yin for a yang all the way through for the entire things, including the co-directors. So even with the team that puts together for overseeing the counting of the ballots, running the machines, everything is bipartisan. When your ballot comes in and your signature needs to be verified, it is by a bipartisan team. So I don't think one's going to give the other the edge. It's going to be a fair thing.
So you'll still be, once the ballots come in, they'll still be scanned through the machine, just like if I was filling it out in person and putting it in?
Absolutely. Your ballot will be opened and it will be actually placed through a scanner, watched both by a Republican and a Democrat.
And if somebody's ballot, if they send it in and, you know, the signature doesn't quite match or there's a problem, are they going to be notified? Are they going to have any chance to fix that? Or is this, you know, you send it in and you got to cross your fingers?
I think that once the team looks it over, we realize that people's signatures vary a little, but they're not going to vary that much. And if there is a question, I think that they probably will be picking up the phone and calling to say, you know, we showed that you secured a ballot through the portal, or that you did one, you know, prior to that, and that we've received a ballot back. Did you vote? And because everybody's their signatures vary a little bit. I know mine probably has over the last 10 years. I'm older, I'm a little shaky, you know, but I would say that that's with everybody, or if somebody decides to get fancier if they're younger.
And then starting in November of this year, there's going to be a new voter ID law in place in Kentucky. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Well, I think everybody in Kentucky, including Jefferson County, knows that they've started to issue new IDs for driver's license. And those new driver's license are what you're going to need to board a plane. I think that Kentucky's a little behind a lot of places. I believe they have started. But yes, that would be considered your picture ID that they're going to require. But I think a lot of people don't realize that if you don't have a driver's license or you don't have an ID like that, I mean, if you work for Metro government, if you work for GE, if you work for Ford, any of those places, you have a photo ID. It's actually something you wear around your neck every day that identifies you. It usually has your signature on it. You can use that.
So in the past, people have been able to use a credit card or social security card or something like that that doesn't have a photo ID. Are those not going to be allowed anymore?
Or whatever. I believe that they're going to try to stay with the photo ID. It'll be a little bit probably, I think that everybody's got one. I don't think there should be too much of a problem. But yeah, you used to be able to bring a piece of mail from your house, this, that, whatever. I think this is a little bit more secure way to do it. Now, we all change a little bit over that 5 or 6 years, but there should be new driver's license being issued. If you have an older one that probably still looks like you. And I would say the same with IDs, you know, that people use at work.
So this could be a challenge for transgender people who may have transitioned socially, but not legally. They may not have changed their name or gone through the very lengthy and sometimes expensive process of changing their birth certificate.
Right.
So you might have somebody who is a transgender woman, but is carrying an ID that identifies them as being male or by a name that and a picture that doesn't match the way they present themselves. Are they going to be able to vote under the new voter ID laws, or are they going to get hassled? You know, what's that experience going to be like?
They shouldn't be hassled, I wouldn't think. I mean, we do have that situation arise in our marriage license department, you know, where somebody has changed, or they'll bring their original birth certificate and then they bring their driver's license, or in the middle of the process. One of the things that I think so many people don't realize is it doesn't ask your sex on a voter registration card at all. So that's one thing. The other thing is it's the signature that's on that card. Now, if somebody was changing their name, they would usually go legally through that process. They would want to go ahead and fill out a new voter registration card with their new name and their same address, and it would eliminate the other one, or they could explain in there that there's been a change, you know, in their gender, and they should be able to vote with no problem. One of the things with, you know, photo IDs, they still represent you. And even if somebody's gone through that transitioning, they probably would have had their photo ID updated a little bit, maybe at work even.
Is that part of the education for poll workers in Jefferson County?
I do know that, through the manuals as well as the personal training, that we're probably going to go a little bit more in depth with this when it comes to this fall because of the photo ID. Most people look like themselves, but people do age, they do change a little bit, and they may ask the person next to them. But like I said, even with election officers on election day, there is a Republican and then there is a Democrat to make that decision.
Well, thank you very much. Is there anything else you want to share with people about voting this year?
We would like everybody to get out and vote in Jefferson County. We always do.
Or stay in and vote?
Exactly. And we would hope that, if they want to wait for the postcard that'll be mailed statewide for that portal, that's fine too. If they'd like to go ahead and get that process and get it over with, they can go to the Jefferson County Clerk's website for voter information. They can do the two-step process right now, and their ballot will be done. They'll be completely ready, and when it comes June 23rd, they're going to say, I've already done that. Great.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today, Nori. And
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you all for everything you do. I think, I've been a poll worker for a couple years, and it's a huge operation, and I think you all do it very well here. We don't seem to have a lot of the problems that you'll sometimes see in the newspaper in other areas, and it's a massive operation, and I commend you all on how.
Well, I thank you for serving.
It.
We appreciate that very much.
Well, I'm going to miss my $200 for.
Well, I'll tell you what. You just come back in the fall, and I think everything will be back in place.
Well, I'll see you then. Thank you very much, and thanks for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.